Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a B-movie review and I'll be having a look at the movie Dungeons & Dragons Wrath of the Dragon God. So this is the second Dungeons & Dragons among the three that are currently available. So this one, unlike the third one, does actually have a connection to the first film. So you have returning bad guy played by Bruce Payne. Now he was defeated at the end of the last film, and this film is set a good long while after the end of the first film. And Bruce Payne's character is this kind of like evil wizard warlord type character who's been sort of wandering around undead for a while. Yet he finds this orb which has kind of been hidden away by these sort of ancient powers, because it contains the essence of this massive black dragon that's been kind of like enslaved. And this dragon is discovered under a mountain after Bruce Payne's character has retrieved the orb. And basically now Bruce Payne has got this orb, the undead sort of dragon is going to sort of rise up and basically tear out this sort of local city. So the city basically sends off 5 heroes. You've got a kind of the main character, I think he's called Berek, and he's kind of this like former knight who's now sort of turned into a kind of like some sort of administrator for the sort of city. You've also got this sort of barbarian woman called Lux, who's kind of this 6-foot blonde Amazonian beauty. You have a sort of a female elf wizard. You've got a human cleric, and you have this rogue who's like they're kind of like pickpocket / thief and whatnot. So they're basically tasked with retrieving the orb, but by doing so they have to sort of go to there's a few sort of sub-adventures along the way to try and find the way to the orb, etc., because they don't actually know where it is. They've got to try and find out a way first to find the orb and then end up actually to retrieve the orb to hopefully keep this dragon from waking up. So in the meantime, you've got Berek's sort of girlfriend, I suppose, or his wife, and she's kind of like this sort of mage who's sort of trying to sort of understand how to sort of, once they achieve the orb, actually how to sort of then basically harness the power up and make sure the dragon doesn't wake up. And she's kind of there with the sort of the city's mage to try and figure that out. She actually has a vision of Bruce Payne's character. I forget his name, but I'm just going to call him Bruce Payne. And she ends up sort of getting infected with this sort of undead curse, basically, and slowly she's sort of becoming an undead. So the main adventure really is these 5 characters sort of going through a variety of different sort of challenges, ultimately to try and to achieve this orb. Now, if you've seen all 3 films, this one has probably got the most amount of sort of creatures in it, I would say. So hats off to that one. They fight various things. On the way, they fight this like huge sort of ice dragon, which the effects, although a little bit cheap looking, the actual dragon design is really, really good. They fight bands of marauders. They fight these kind of like leech things that are stuck to the ceiling. They come across like a lich king, and he's got this sort of army of undead ghost warriors. All sorts of stuff. When they actually find the sort of the way to sort of see where the orb is, there's a variety of different traps and stuff as well. You've got then when they actually find Bruce Payne's character and steal the orb back, and he's got this orc bloke and things like that. There's quite a lot of effect shots, quite a lot of practical and CGI effects. Ultimately, they get the orb. However, they're betrayed by someone within their own camp, and the dragon is unleashed, this huge undead sort of black dragon. I've got to say, I think the CGI looked worse on him than the ice dragon, I've got to say, though. The ice dragon design was a lot better than this undead black dragon, who kind of looks a bit too cartoony, I've got to be honest. So at the end of the day, they find a way, obviously, to defeat him. So what do I actually think about the film? That's basically the plot in a very, very short nutshell. So far better than the first film, but not quite as good as the third film in a nutshell. The actual story is a lot more coherent here than the first film. I'd have to say it's probably a little bit melodramatic for my tastes. It's played very straight. It's not got the sort of campiness. Even Bruce Payne's character who was a particularly campy bad guy. It's kind of toned down a little bit for this one. All the actual characters are have to be honest, are fairly one-dimensional. They're kind of, they're interesting in their sort of own particular way. They try to build up a bit of character between them. Like there's this female barbarian and the kind of this rogue have a little bit of a sort of like rivalry going, but they sort of end up sort of learning to kind of like appreciate each other. But there's not really a hell of a lot of character development. But would you expect such a thing from a kind of straight to DVD Dungeons and Dragons film? Probably not, to be honest. But there you go. I mean, this is what separates a B-movie from a standalone film. So the story is pretty decent. You don't really have to see the first film to kind of really sort of get into this film. It really only is the sort of the Bruce Payne character, and you have a kind of prologue at the beginning, really just sort of explain who he is and why he's doing what he's doing. So you can kind of watch it fresh without having to see the first film. And to be honest, you're probably best off avoiding that first film if at all possible. The main issue I have with this film is I appreciate the fact that this is probably at the second and the third film. There's a lot more effects in this shot than in this film than the third, but the budget is simply too meagre to try and match their sort of their vision of what they want to do. So the CGI in this looks incredibly cheap, or they're trying to stretch what meagre budget they have to sort of cover all these effect shots, and some of it does look particularly bad, I have to say. Very, very kind of like sort of almost PlayStation graphics in a lot of places. So it's a shame because they've tried to do a little bit, quite a lot with it, but I think maybe what they probably would have been better doing is kind of reining it in a little bit more and having not quite as many monsters and things like that, but the ones that you do have, maybe trying to get the effects a little bit better. I'll put some pictures up, obviously, so you can see what I mean, but you really won't get the sort of feel of it until you actually sort of see it on a, in motion. But the actual quick designs are pretty interesting. They are a kind of a mix of practical effects with their sort of humanoid monsters. They'll generally be practical effects, but the sort of the bigger ones and stuff will be CGI. So the effects overall, though, when it comes to the CGI, are relatively poor. So that is a bit of a shame. But there you go. Also, I don't think the characters are quite as interesting as the third film as well. So it's not a bad film by any stretch if you like your kind of fantasy films, but it's probably around average to be quite honest. I mean, it has some sort of grand ideas, has a relatively sort of non-complex plot, and the characters are relatively linear. So to be quite honest, this is probably what you'd call an average fantasy film. It's very fun to watch. I did enjoy it, but I don't think it's a film I'd probably be too fussed if I saw again. But I'm glad that I watched it the one time. So for this film, I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. So what do you think about it? Have you watched it? Which out of the three films do you prefer? I know some people actually do prefer this film than the third one, but I've got to be honest, I think the third one is far superior. Leave me a comment and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.